Welcome back to the Crypto is Key conversation. We're going to start with this one from Eleanor Terrett. It says, new. The October edition of Gary Gensler's calendar is here. As pointed out by digital asset investor and Robinhood's app meeting was October 12th. 2 months later, they received a crypto-related subpoena. Lots of media appearances and interviews this month as well. And then Crypto Law, this is John Deaton here, says, quote, come in and talk. No guidance on compliance will be provided. Lawsuit will follow unless you're Sam Bankman-Fried, which is just shameful, right? And there's some more stuff right here. So digital asset investor have put this up. New Gary Gensler counselors out, or calendars out. Looks like Robinhood made the mistake of coming in to see us with the eyeballs. And you can come look at this this screenshot he has here. There's another one right here. It says, new Gary Gensler calendar. He can meet with Goldman Sachs, but he can't acknowledge over 75,000 XRP holders. Who is he protecting again? And that's what we cover a lot on this channel, man. It's just shameful. You claim to be protecting us, but you can meet with everybody else. Especially the most shameful one is the meeting on the taxpayer dime, with you meeting with, or with him meeting with Vanguard, you know, who's managing his over 100 million plus of wealth. That's the most shameful thing. But you can't even acknowledge over 75,000 XRP holders that were devastated and hurt, by the lawsuit that was dropped by Jay Clayton as he was walking out the door. Shameful. Weezy X had put this up. It's an article from the Crypto Basic. It says, Ripple lawyer Gensler should be recused from enforcement actions against claiming tokens are securities. So we covered this yesterday. We're still Autorati pretty much. As digital asset investor says, you know, kind of went on the offense. He's tired of playing defense. So obviously Chairman Gensler saying everything but Bitcoin's a security. It's like, oh, well, now Chairman Gensler has to recuse himself. So it says, look like Stuart Autorati just checkmate Gary Gensler. Gary must recuse himself from voting on any enforcement cases that raise the crypto as a security issue because he prejudged them in the Intelligencer, all the irony article. So we covered that yesterday, man. It's this is a funny world we live in, a funny time we live in right now, man. This is just crazy how Chairman Gensler and the SEC are literally manipulating and warping things to fit their narrative and agenda. And it's quite honestly, it's until Congress and the true overseers of them step in. I mean, he's just going to continue to cause as much devastation and havoc that he can. Continuing on here, this video. It's a 5-minute video almost, and I'm wondering if I'm gonna play it or not. Maybe we'll come back to it. I just want to kind of be brief with this one. So this is from JV had put this up. It says GBTC lawsuit against the SEC. So this is the Grayscale lawsuit. It says oral arguments in the Grayscale lawsuit against the SEC to convert GBTC to a spot Bitcoin ETF are scheduled for March 7th. So he's asking if people are going to be listening in. John Deaton says, I predict a win for Grayscale. When you fight back, the SEC isn't as successful at winning as Gary Gensler and the others would have you believe. Just as to Automobile recently tweeted out that the SEC has lost 4 out of 5 cases before the Supreme Court. There's been speculations on that Supreme Court narrative too. Obviously, we made a video, I want to say like last week, where they were talking about, you know, the communities being upset that the talks of the Supreme Court is happening when it comes to Ripple versus SEC. But there's people speculating like, hey, as long as the the ongoing sales and secondary market sales of XRP gets that clarity, and the XRP investors are pretty much let out of the shackles, then Ripple can go to the Supreme Court. I mean, knowing that they're going to guarantee a win, it's like, okay, cool, they can go to the Supreme Court. But then there's other people that's just like, dude, let's just get it all done. You know, do what's best for your business and move forward. So it's just going to kind of be a waiting game to kind of see what happens with all that. This is from Tom Emmer. It says the Biden administration wants to create a surveillance-style digital dollar that is not open, permissionless, private. That's why I introduced a legislation to prevent unelected bureaucrats from stripping Americans of their right to financial privacy.
The Biden administration is currently itching to create a digital authoritarian-styled surveillance-style digital dollar. And through an executive order, they are pursuing analysis on a retail CBDC that would not be open, permissionless, or private. In fact, it would be ridden with significant risk to Americans' privacy, security, financial inclusion, and a whole lot more. This kind of digital currency would give the federal government access to and control over literally every financial transaction conducted by Americans. That's why I, along with a number of my colleagues, introduced the CBDC Anti-Surveillance State Act.
So I mean, that's good. Fight that fight. Make sure they're not setting something in place that strips us of that that privacy and gives them all the control of everything. Absolutely. James K. Fallon had put this up. It says he quoted his Wall Street Journal article. It says FTX co-founder Nishad Singh pleads guilty to fraud charges. So coming over here, Eleanor Terrett had put up some more information. It says the new SEC has charged former FTX employee Nishad Singh for allegedly creating the software code that allowed FTX customer funds to be funneled to Alameda Research and for being an active participant in the scheme to deceive FTX investors. And then someone put the crypto guy put up this little meme here: XRP, SEC, Ripple, but Gary protecting the investors. The comedy. I love it, especially during these times. I think I am going to play this clip because I think it's interesting. Just another perspective from another lawyer within the community. So Digital Asset Investor had put this up. So let's take a quick listen into this.
One is one you mentioned earlier, Kathy, which is probably the case that the crypto community is most focused on, right? And that is SEC versus Ripple Labs. What makes that case so interesting is that it has absolutely nothing to do with whether or not tokens are securities. Ripple Labs raised money, huge amount of money, $50 billion, right, by selling XRP tokens. That's down the middle, the kind of activity that at least potentially would be investment contract activity. However, both of the parties, the SEC on the one hand and Ripple Labs on the other hand, have attempted to make the case focus on the status of the XRP token for their own separate sort of strategic reasons. At this point, the case has been going on, I think, over 2 years. Well over 2 years, and we are expecting some decision on the motions for summary judgment, which is the point before you have an actual trial. So you've done all your discovery, everybody's known and figured out whatever there is to know and entered whatever evidence there is to enter. And at this point, it's up to the judge to make a decision, and she can do one of three things. She can grant the motion for summary judgment for either the SEC or for Ripple Labs. So those are two options. Or she can deny them for everybody, for both of them. So she can grant them for one and not the other and not the one, or deny them completely. If she grants them for either, grants the motion for summary judgment for either the SEC or for Ripple Labs, it is exceedingly likely that whoever lost is going to appeal, as I explained, and go up. In the case of Ripple Labs, the case is in the Southern District of New York, which is the most common case to bring securities actions for various reasons, and they would appeal it to the Second Circuit, so which is probably one of the leading circuits in the U.S., and would get appealed. That could easily be another couple of years. But the decision that Judge Torres, the judge in the Southern District, writes will shape people's thinking on this, even though the status of the XRP token is not directly relevant, because both parties have kind of put it into play. If she makes a decision, she will likely comment on it. There's a third option in which she denies the summary judgment motions from both sides and wants to go to trial. And that's definitely possible. It's become such a hot potato issue, she may conclude that she really wants to do more fact-finding in a trial and really give people an opportunity to sort of engage in that process. So we may or may not see that. But that case is going to...
Oh, I'm sorry. So just to clarify, though, you mentioned the XRP token is not directly related, but both parties have brought it up. So whatever the judge says in this case, whether, she deems that it was a securities or it was not, that could ripple through to the industry, not to be cutesy about words, but that could ripple through to the industry in terms of setting a precedent and being used for other cases. Is that correct?
It's broadly correct. We have a term in the law that applies here, and that term is a Latin term called dicta, D-I-C-T-A, which is something that is said. And in the law, what that means is when judges write opinions, they use a lot of words. Sometimes these opinions can go on for 30, 50 pages. And not everything that the judge writes goes directly to the question that is presented to the judge. They just have lots of things to say, typically. And the things that the judge says that don't go directly to the fundamental question are called dicta. That is technically not precedential because it does not go to the immediate question at hand. Anything Judge Torres says about the XRP token technically would be dicta because the case is not about the status of the XRP token. However, you're certainly correct that people will look to that as the first really fully litigated case where a federal judge may or may not, depending on what she chooses to say, have strong statements. For example, if she says, I'm convinced, the SEC has convinced me, the XRP token is a security and they violated the securities laws, that's going to go, that's going to be a big deal for sure. Even if technically it's not technically precedent, it's going to go a long way. Likewise, if she says, I don't think the XRP token is a security, I think that's ridiculous, it won't be precedent either, but it'll carry a lot of weight. So it's a little bit of a nuanced point.
Yeah, that's I think it's interesting just to hear, the different lawyers and attorneys and people that are really dialed in with, the legalities behind everything. It's good to hear the different perspectives and, the different viewpoints. But the overwhelming thing that I get from all of it, except for like John Deaton, he does a really great job of breaking things down. I've been following him for some time now. But it's overwhelming because it's like you have all these different, theories and possible outcomes and all this stuff. But it's like, where are we going? What does it truly all mean? You know what I'm saying? And like, at what point is it really going to be over? Will it really ever be over? Are we really going to have to wait till 2025 to get some legit, regulatory clarity in space? Obviously, when it comes to Ripple versus SC stuff, obviously we're going to get something sooner, but it's like, this gentleman's saying, well, depending on what's being, what's stated by the judge, or whether it's pushed up to a jury trial, or whether it goes to, the Second Circuit and more years, like all these different things. It's like, okay, well, at what point is it not just, speculation based on specific words and how they're structured based on, what the judge says or whatever, but what is it like, okay, this is hard facts, evidence, precedent that is, available for all the digital assets to use type thing. Obviously what I mean by this and where I'm going with this is like, obviously there's been speculation that, okay, well, Ripple's going to have to slam the door on the rest of the industry, right? They're going to have to, take their win and take their deal and slam the door on everybody else. Kind of like the whole Bitcoin and Ethereum free pass stuff, right? It's like, okay, well, they get the pass, but everybody else is kind of still in purgatory, right? So is the same thing going to apply? That's what I mean by this. Like, it's kind of overwhelming to think about. Super intriguing as well. I definitely, get super anxious just like the rest of you out there. But I don't know. I just have that overwhelming feeling still sometimes. It's just like, dang, okay, what is it? Like, when can someone just come in? I mean, this little 3-letter agency right here, someone come in and just shut it down. They see what he's doing. It's blatant. Why is Chairman Gensler and the SEC still operating the way they're operating? I mean, literally everyday investors are being hurt by it. I mean, we can literally nip it in the butt right there, right? I don't know. Just my opinion. Just kind of wanted to give my thoughts on that. If you come over here to CoinGecko, we're currently sitting at a $1.1 trillion market cap. Bitcoin sitting at 23,149. Ethereum sitting at 1,600. And then XRP sitting just below 38 cents at 37 cents. Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index is at a 50, so we're at a neutral. Got an update in 24 hours. So just a waiting game to kind of see what happens with everything. Almost like it really is exhausting. I've been here since late 2017, and to see one of the top digital assets, in my portfolio just constantly be, suppressed, and it's like, oh, okay, how much more time? Just a waiting game. Make sure you come to the Crypto is Key Conversation YouTube channel. Subscribe. Follow us on Twitter at Crypto is Key 1. I really appreciate your support out there. With all that being said, stay strong out there. Be safe.